So White's getting some upgrades. I'm not talking about any cards coming on the new sets. We're talking about just White the color as part of the color pie is getting upgraded. This news was revealed by Gavin Verhey, who is not only part of the R&D at Wizards of the Coast, he's also the host of the competing and only competing Morning Magic show, Good Morning Magic, with over 18,000 subscribers. Hey people, wake up. Why aren't you subscribing to my channel? You're here every single day. You watch every single video. And most of you aren't subscribed. It's just simple. Just click the subscribe button, turn it red to gray. We need to compete with Gavin Verhey here. Subscribe to support Coffee and MTG. All right, so let's hear what Gavin has to say.
Good morning, Magic. I'm Gavin Verhey from Wizards of the Coast. And White in Magic's color pie has been a very hot topic in recent times. And it's a very important topic to me and everyone else on the Magic design team. So today I wanted to talk you through exactly what we've been doing to help out White and give you an unprecedented look at what the future of White holds.
You're going to help out White? What does White need help for? I mean, you look at how it's performing in 1v1. I mean, it's OP. It's like basically the single part of the color pie that can hold its own without splashing any colors. It stood the test of time. You look at it in Pioneer, it's getting cards banned like Walking Ballista. There's Death and Taxes in Modern. It's got tons of upgrades between Giver of Runes, Stoneforge Mystic getting unbanned, the Horizon Lands, Maul of the Skyclaves. And in Legacy, it's a tier 1 deck, and that's a really hostile format. That's crazy. Upgrades? Even in the face of that?
Let's do it. In the last several years, we've all seen a huge surge of popularity in the Commander format. And as more and more people enter the format and are building new deck lists and refining deck lists and comparing notes, and as the format simply evolves, they've noticed a few things. And a big one is that White doesn't have the tools it needs. With usually 3 opponents at 40 life each, some of White's strengths in 60 card Magic don't scale well to Commander.
Well, neither does like Burn, but I don't hear the Burn community all outraged. Oh, the Burn's Lightning Bolt isn't any good in this format.
And yes, there are decks like Stax, which can be quite competitive, but not everyone wants to play against Stax decks.
Okay, so we admit there is actually like basically a tier 0 competitive deck in the mono white colors. Yeah, it's an asshole deck, but it exists.
We've heard this feedback, which sincerely, thank you all so much for sending in, and we agree. White needs more tools. So a design goal for 2020 across the whole design team was to find ways to give White those tools. So from vision design to play design to the Council of Colors and everywhere in between, we were all working on trying to come up with these tools and give White new tools that still preserved its unique identity across not just Commander, but all Magic formats. And if you're writing an article about this or making a post on Reddit, please get these 2 things in there. The first is that this is not inclusive of every single thing we are doing. There are going to be things like specific mechanics, for example, that I just can't talk about today. The second thing is, as a consequence of me telling you about this now so far in advance, that means you might not see it for a little while. So if it's not in the next set or the set after that, please trust that these things are coming. They just take a lot of time, and me telling you about them this far in advance means it's going to still take a while for them to get to you.
That's like grossly underrepresented within our community. Where is this? We want this, we want that. I mean, they're making the damn thing, but you have to wait like 2 years for it to arrive. I mean, this community needs patience more than anything when it comes to Magic the Gathering.
Let's start off though with one that you have already seen a little bit of in Kaldheim, and that's Flash. One of the first conclusions we came to is that we want White to have more Flash. So going forward, you'll find it in similar volumes to Black's Flash creatures. Let me tell you a little bit about why. First of all, we thought that either Flash or Haste would be really important for a color that relies mostly on creatures, because the counterplay sorcery speed interactions. Your opponent casts a Wrath, well, no problem, you can cast an end-step creature and attack with it on your next turn. So we just wanted to give White a bit more instant speed interaction in general.
Well, Settle the Wreckage's value is going straight up, people. Do they got the Flash creature? Do they got the Settle the Wreckage?
So while White has had a few Flash creatures historically, you can expect to see more going forward. All right, now let's go a little bit in the future with one that you haven't quite seen as much of yet, and that's White card draw. Let me be very clear. We think white needs more card draw. Yes, that's right. Let me say it again. We think white needs more card draw.
More? I thought it had like none. You can't have more of 0.
Now we're not just going to print white divination and call it a day. First of all, there's symmetric draw. Me and one other player each draws some number of cards, and this plays particularly well in multiplayer. You've seen this before on a card like Farsight Adept, but it could be done for more than just one card. Second, there's rule setting draw. Since white can make rules, it also makes sense that if your opponent breaks those rules, you can draw a card. Third, there are cards that don't literally say the word draw on them, but get you cards back from your graveyard or out of your library. Now we've done these in the past, but we're going to keep pushing forward in this space.
So it sounds like basically every color draws cards. Blue draws cards, black draws cards, red exiles cards, but we all know this is all card draw anyway. Green draws cards, now white draws cards.
You'll see experimentation in all three of these areas in the coming months. But once again, I want to stress these are not the only things we are doing. There's other things you'll see in the next year or two to come. Now let's talk about ramp. While card draw is priority number 1 of the two because ramp has so many colorless options white decks can already play, it's still very much on our mind to give white some ramp cards. More mana is a powerful thing, and white should have some unique tools of its own. There are 3 main ways we're working on white ramp right now. The first is catch-up ramp, giving you a land if an opponent has more lands than you.
Reminds me something like land tax. And honestly, this is just something they should develop and evolve for the white part of the color pie anyway. I mean, this is a really old effect. Now, it didn't put the lands directly onto the battlefield, but I tell you what, turn after turn after turn, your opponent has to skip some land drops. You've thinned your deck out. This is exactly something that white needs to evolve and become a much larger part of their strategy.
And you've seen some of this in the past with cards like Keeper of the Accord. That card has played out pretty well, and we think this is great space for white to play in, and we'll do more like it in the future. Second, there's what we call the Sun Titan effect. Since white can reanimate any permanent type, it also stands to reason just fine that white can reanimate lands from your graveyard. And finally, for number 3, there's treasure production cards. Right now, you mostly know this as Smothering Tithe, but white could be doing more of this in the future. It's not going to do it super often, but it can do it, especially by taxing your opponents. There will be new cards in all 3 of these avenues over the next year, and we're also discussing some other options for the future. One other big thing we've taken away from recent feedback is that we could be a lot better about identifying cards in other colors, which could be powerful tools for white.
Are you going to take our merfolk away? We don't get many good merfolk once in a while. They're going to look at our I swear, they're going to look at our champion of the parish merfolk. It's blue. It gets +1/+1. They're like, you want, can that be a white card? Nah, let's make it a human pirate or something.
So now as we're working on sets and reviewing files, we'll often ask ourselves the question, could this card be white? And quite often, with a small tweak, the answer is yes. And then we can make that tweak and switch it into white.
Every single time I see like this really busted white card, I'm going to be like, that probably was a merfolk. And they were like, no, we got to give it to white. We got to give it to white. Can't give blue too many tools. Those control decks, they're going to break it somehow.
And also, although it won't happen that often, we're also willing to imbalance the number of colored cards in our pre-constructed decks to give white more tools. And I cannot wait for you to see what all of these cards do.
I can't wait to see what this is going to do in the 1v1 competitive formats.
Finally, I really want to say thank you for all of your feedback, and especially all of the content creators who have been leading the charge on this front on social media, like Pleasant Kenobi, Kristen Emily, and Cube April. Thank you so much for everything, and I really hope we can make some cards that'll do you proud.
So if I want something from Wizards of the Coast, all I have to do is raise my voice and leverage my presence and influence on social media?
So let's keep that feedback cycle rolling, and if you have any thoughts on this video or white in general, leave them in the comments down below. I'll talk with you again on Friday, and in the meantime, may you have a lot of fun playing with your favorite color.
Congratulations, mono white mages, you got what you were looking for. I've been trying to stay mono blue myself, but unfortunately, I've had to like diverge into the green, into the Simic in order to stay relevant in Modern. I have to work with scraps like Kamena Speaker, an off-color 1/1 green creature that situationally gets +1/+1. But what I like about Wizards is that they're going to push white in a new direction, and frankly, I wish they would do something similar for the other parts of the color pie, especially blue. I'm pretty tired of all these mill cards that show up in every set, or these spells that give -3, -0 until end of turn. There's like a lot of real good trash, and on top of that, bouncing something to someone's hand is becoming less and less relevant in the non-rotating formats. We need to see a new direction in the other parts of the color pie. We got to spice it up. But hey, if this news sounds good for you, let me know in the comments section below. And until next time, we need to demand Champion of the Parish Merfolk.